ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः तदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते रघुनाथ स्वामी नामने पादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश अचालम मंगलम मंगले गिरिम यत्कृपातम वंदे श्री गुरुं दीनकारणं परमानंदं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम। हरे कृष्णा। Firstly, I'm very grateful to those who made it possible to join despite your Sunday schedules. I can see Sri Devi Mataji in our clinic. Of course, it's a working day there for them. Others are in various situations. So sorry for putting you, not just you, 6, 7 devotees, but the whole batch in a kind of my last minute adjustment. Not that I was very sick, but I was for some strange reason. Sometimes, suddenly you feel very down. I practically slept off at the time of when the class was about to start, and I woke up next day morning. So anyway, I'm okay. Nothing particular. I don't know why I felt like that. But anyway, so then I thought I must make up. Also, one of the other reasons I wanted to do the class today is next Saturday or coming Saturday, the following week is likely a very tight schedule. I am attending some course, so there's a likelihood I may need to adjust that class as well, which means it may not be able to happen over the weekends as well too. Anyway, we are recording, so some devotees who are going to miss because of my mistake, hopefully they can catch up. Of course, the primary reason for me to give class is to purify myself. So, so in the meanwhile, others are also getting benefit. That is wonderful. But that is my uh, main agenda. That's how my spiritual masters and seniors have taught me. Prabhupada has taught us the same standard. Doesn't matter there or not. Huh? Of course, some sense of practicality we have to have because sometimes we are giving class very specifically, but uh, at the end of the day, Hari Katha, Hari Kirtan, there is no loss because there is one permanent audience who is the Paramatma in the heart. He's our witness and audience all the time, no matter others are there. And we can cheat others, we can cheat the whole world. We cannot cheat the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows thoroughly well what is our real intent, real motivation, our actual standing in devotional service. Anyway, so I do not intend to cover a huge lot in today's chapter. Today we are entering chapter 11 of the seventh canto. We have already completed discussion of Prahlad and Narasimha pastime, which was first 10 chapters, and now there are another 5 chapters. That 5 chapters are still a continuation of the conversation outside the conversation, which is that of Sri Narad Muni discussing with Yudhishthir Maharaj. Again, two great Paramhamsas. This is happening in the background of the setup of the Rajasuya Yajna, where Shishupal has been killed. Right? I'm just bringing back the context. So that beautiful conversation around, hey, how come Shishupal, he went back to Godhead, his soul came out and it merged. Oh. Actually, of course, Yudhishthir Maharaj is amazed. He's not, sometimes as sadhaka devotees, because we are not so pure, sometimes when some person gets very extraordinary blessings of Krishna or Guru, uh, and we somehow don't have a very good opinion about them, why he doesn't deserve uh, get this kind of a special blessing. So more advanced soul, of course, is happy. He's happy even if he sees unqualified people get the mercy, because the whole idea is let everyone be delivered. Sarve sukhina santu, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma pashyantu. So they are not sad. Of course, they may feel that, oh Lord, like Bhakti Vinod Thakur prays, Asura Sakala Pailo Charana, Vinoda Thakilo Bosi. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says in a very beautiful song, he says in a mood of helpless surrender to the Lord, that, oh Krishna, oh Gopinath, all the Asuras, they were killed by you and they got delivered. And they attained your lotus feet. Asura Sakala Pailo Charana. They attained your lotus feet. Vinoda means Bhakti Vinod. He's talking about himself. Thakilo Bosi. I still remain here only. And they went back to Godhead. But I am still here. Cast your merciful glance on me also. So, of course, one is happy for, even if sometimes we, in our judgment, it's not that they are unqualified. Sometimes some individuals receive that special mercy. Anyway, of course, Yudhishthira Maharaj was definitely not thinking like that. He was amazed. Wow, this guy has been, really, really offensive all through. So, if he has achieved a very auspicious destination, there is something that we don't know, which we should know, which enables one to receive that mercy, right? So, this is the inquisitiveness of the pure devotee. There is some spiritual principle at play here, which I'm not aware. Can you please elaborate? And that actually illuminates so much. And the central point that comes out from that whole katha is where Narad Muni is explaining, is that no matter how you focus on the Lord, if there's absorption in the Lord, it will take effect. Whether out of love, whether out of lust, greed, even enmity, one is focused on the Lord. Eventually, that association with the Lord will purify any undesirable qualities, and eventually only the absorption and love will remain. So that is the potency. Right? Just like even if something dirty comes near the sun, all the dirt will be evaporated by the power of the sun, and only purity will reach. I mean, if you get what I mean. Anyway, so that's a different point. So I'm setting the context back again. That was the overall context. So I'm trying to explain to you where in the seventh canto we are, because we are entering a different subsection for the next 5 chapters. So what I'm talking now is setting you the context, for otherwise you'll wonder what suddenly where the conversation is going from where. So I'm giving that broader context. So the broader context was that conversation between Narad Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj. And there where he explained, those Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, this, and then he explains Hiranyakashipu's pastime in detail. Because suddenly as he was answering, Yudhishthir Maharaj said, oh, Hiranyakashipu, his son was Prahlad. Why he tried to kill Prahlad? Everybody is so affectionate to their children. What happened? Tell me. He became curious. So the whole, first 10 chapters came about. So now that part has ended. Those 10 chapters have ended. And now, Yudhishthir Maharaj, he's like, wow, this pastime was far out. Prahlad, And Narad Muni and even Shukadev mentions that wherever in the universe there's discussion on pure devotional service and the super excellence of devotees, Prahlad's name will come. That is the so that's the benchmark of pure devotion. Wow. And even though it is not mentioned explicitly here in the next chapter, Yudhishthir Maharaj is so amazed by this super excellent example and the performance of devotional service that Yudhishthir Maharaj is very keen to know more how such a state can be attained. And that's the right question for us, right? After we hear about Prahlad, after we hear about Dhruva, when I was very young, when I used to hear about the past, about the greatness of many of these saints, both Puranic and more recent, the main question that is to come in my mind is, what is it that they did that they could attain such a level? Because that is what is of interest to us, right? Yeah, wonderful, worshipable, clap, clap, clap is fine, but what does it take? Because we also hope and pray that we want to attain this kind of consciousness. Prahlad like consciousness. What does Prahlad like consciousness mean? A consciousness which is perfectly absorbed in the lotus feet of the Lord, absolutely fearless, absolutely detached in the midst of the greatest of opulences. Even if the greatest benedictions are offered by the Lord, absolutely detached. No interest other than serving the Lord. No material desire. That kind of pure, that kind of sthita prajna devotional service, perfection. Isn't that something that will excite us? And on top of that, such calm and poise that even when being attempted to be burnt alive, killed in all possible ways, blissfully smiling, fully surrendered to the Lord. And he was in the consciousness of if Krishna wants me to die, it's fine. Correct. Normally, for sadhakas who are not very advanced, oh, Krishna, somehow save me, save me, save me. I am your devotee. Don't put me through this. We cannot emulate the level of Prahlad, but we aspire, wow, someday this kind of consciousness. So Yudhishthir, he has seen so much in life, and and he knows what's impending. So he asks, he says, "Oh, Narad Muni, please tell me. I am very keen to know. Please tell me about the principles of Sanatan Dharma, because you have been describing that the consciousness of Prahlad is the perfection of Sanatan Dharma. This is what the nature, eternal nature of the soul is. Please tell me in detail now about this Sanatan Dharma. And also for those who are not fully purified yet on the platform of transcendence, tell me also about Varnashram Dharma. Correct? So, two questions: Sanatan Dharma and Varnashram Dharma. Now, before going into the details, a little more 20,000 feet view. This particular canto, Canto 7, the primary topic that this particular canto is focused on is Uti. UTI, Uti. What does Uti mean? Uti means impetus. Now, in very simple words, sometimes these words like impetus also may know what exactly this means. You don't have to look up. Basically, it means what is it that is driving you? What is your drive? We are all endeavoring, right, for something. What is it that is driving us in our endeavor? What is the Uti? So there are two kinds of Uti. One is the pure Uti, the pure drive of the pure soul. Huh? And that is characterized in its living, in its behavior. For such a soul who has that kind of a pure drive is characterized uh, in the personality, is embodied in the personality of Prahlad, and that disposition, those qualities, those values, those activities are what represent Sanatan Dharma. Because what does Sanatan Dharma mean? Sanatana Dharma, eternal nature. Eternal nature of what? Eternal nature of the self. So when all the coverings of the self, the extraneous coverings of the self are removed and the self, the Atman, which is a part and parcel of the Lord, is situated in its original, spotless, uncovered glory. What is the nature that it displays? That is the nature, is its true nature. That is the Sanatan Dharma. And that nature is exhibited in terms of what kind of qualities, what kind of activities, what kind of disposition, what kind of attitudes. All these comprise the Sanatan Dharma. So, Sanatan Dharma is related to the pure nature of the soul. And this pure nature of the soul is the same across all living entities. No change. Because our bodies change. Our bodies are a reflection of our conditioning, our karma, our conditioning, and it may change. But the Sanatan Dharma never ever changes. It always remains the same for each and every one. Prabhupada explains in the purports one more very interesting point. And this he quotes the Acharyas, says Sanatana Dharma. What does Sanatan mean? That it doesn't even end after perfection. It is not something which is simply a dharma to be executed to achieve liberation. Because generally we take up a practice which is supposed to give us some goal. But Sanatan Dharma is the very nature of the self. In fact, that nature is fully manifest in its full glory when the soul achieves perfection. So the Sanatan Dharma is fully illuminated and eternally continues, even beyond liberation. That is why it is Sanatan. It has no beginning, no end. In the middle, it is covered over. It is never killed or died. Our Sanatan Dharma is never. There's also another very interesting point which is mentioned, and these are very, very, very subtle but very important truths which we as devotees should have understanding into. So I wanted to focus today's class on delving into some of these nuances. Prabhupada often mentions this, that when we talk about Sanatan Dharma, of course, Sanatan Dharma will be explained in detail in the first 15 verses, which is what I want to continue today, Krishna willing. Only 15 verses of the chapter, out of which the last 4-5 verses are a summarization of what are the qualities, checklist, Sanatan Dharma, tick, 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 tick. A tick or not tick, we have to do. But at least that's the list. The full checklist is given so that we don't have to speculate. Yeah, because one may say eternal nature, yes, but what is that? How do I? Can you tell me a little bit more specifically what that means? So that specifications of Sanatan Dharma in terms of qualities, not just in terms of practices, because there may be various expressions of Sanatan Dharma, various kinds of rituals. People may, it doesn't matter whether one is eating pizza or pasta or sambar and rice or rasam, those variances are different. But what is the fundamental underlying spiritual principle? Charanji. So one way Prabhupada describes Sanatan Dharma, and I'm trying to explain what the word Sanatana here means. Sanatan basically means no beginning, no end. Correct? No beginning, no end. So we just now discussed how Sanatan nature will continue after liberation. Correct? Now you may say, hey, what happened to my Sanatan nature now? If it is Sanatan, if it is eternal, it is minus infinity to plus infinity, right? Huh? So what happened to my Sanatan nature now? Where is it? Is it not there? So it is there. The simple explanation, it is covered over, but it is not lost. Now what this means, Prabhupada explains very nicely. This is the Acharya's explanation. It says, the sum and substance of Sanatan Dharma means seva, service. Okay? Please remember this very carefully. This is very, very important. The sum and substance of Sanatan Dharma means seva. What does this mean? That because the eternal nature of the soul is to be part and parcel of the whole, the eternal nature equal to Sanatan Dharma is seva of the whole. Right? You agree? Huh? Right? We are part and parcel. Jiver Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. Huh? Krishna se tatastha Shakti Bheda Bheda Prakash. Because we are part and parcel of Krishna, the eternal nature of every jiva is to serve. So what is Sanatan Dharma of the soul in one simple line? I mean, we can describe qualities and we will describe those qualities. In very simple words, is to be a servant of the whole, servant of Krishna. Very simple. Which means the quality of rendering service is in the eternal nature of the soul. It is manifested only with that inherent nature. That nature cannot be taken away from the soul. Can never be taken away from the soul. You may say, Prabhu, already where I am not, so many people not doing any service to the Supreme Lord. What, Prabhu, you say? How like this? How like that? So the Acharyas explain. The jiva's nature is always to render service to the Lord. Either service in love to the Supreme Lord under the influence of the internal energy, or one is forced to serve the Maya energy of the Lord. One still has to serve. Huh? Either one serves Krishna or one serves Maya. One still is always a servant. Whether he understands it or not, because it's the internal nature of the self to remain a servant. So the jiva is never a master. When he's serving Maya, he's under the illusion he's a master. But actually he's serving. How is he serving? How is he serving? Anyone wants to explain? How is the living entity serving Maya? Anyone wants to have a quick go?
Prabhuji running behind Maya.
Okay. How is that serving Maya? You are close to the answer. I want a very specific answer. How is that serving? Yeah, Sujit Sundar Prabhu, you want to?
We are always attached to material desires.
Okay, okay. All close. Any other way to explain it? Anand Sundari Mataji is satisfying. All of you are right, but I am looking for a more specific answer. I'll give you a hint, a leading hint. Yeah, all of you are right, but I'm looking for a very specific answer. What characterizes a master-servant relationship? Huh? So some people say, "Oh, you are servant of Krishna. You have lost your freedom. I am free." Huh? Is the living entity free? Huh? He thinks he is free. And Prabhupada has explained this many, many times. The living entity thinks he is free. But Prabhupada says the living entity is simply a servant of his mind and senses. Which means he's a servant of Maya. Which means when the mind and the senses dictate, I want this, the living entity starts running behind. Servant, right? You're a servant of your mind, you're a servant of your senses, and all the dictations are coming from Maya because they are the dictates of the false identity. So one is serving Krishna nonetheless. One is direct loving service, which leads to auspiciousness and an experience of one's full glory as the living entity, the pure self. And another is service of the illusory energy of the Lord, which actually covers up the real nature of the soul, he's still forced to serve. The serving is one's eternal nature. He cannot give up the eternal nature. The jiva only has a choice to serve Krishna or to serve Maya. When he serves Maya, he may be in the illusion that he's independent, but actually is fully bound up by the three modes. He thinks these are his own desires, these are his own thoughts, these are his own decisions. But these are all dictates of his conditioned self and ego and all coming through material nature. This is a very subtle point. The moment we actually understand this point, if you can appreciate this point and have that insight, actually we are simply servants of Maya in the conditioned state. Do reflect on this. If you haven't been able to grasp this, do reflect on this. And Prabhupada says this repeatedly. So Sanatan Dharma is the eternal nature, but the Sanatan Dharma can get covered over. Instead of being directed directly in loving service, it can get misdirected by the false ego into serving Maya. Still, one cannot go beyond. One is still always dependent on Krishna, even while in conditioned Maya. Even to satisfy material desires. Even if one wants to forget Krishna and go away, but there is no escape because there is nothing beyond Krishna. We are part and parcel of Krishna. Okay, so do reflect on this. So coming back, Sanatan Dharma. In the conditioned state, we are still doing serving, but we are serving Krishna by serving Maya. And then we become frustrated because we are not really aligned. Because of being covered over and being the marginal energy, we are illusioned in terms of what is actually good for us. And that's why we become, it is a twisted nature. It's still seva, but it is twisted. Avidhi Purvakam explains this in a slightly different context, but Krishna explains this in the Bhagavad Gita in the context of the worship of the Devatas for material benefit. They are also worshipping indirectly Avidhi Purvakam. Because where can you go? Krishna says that everyone follows my path in all respects. What is not my path? There's nothing outside. So this is a very, very interesting thing. If you can grasp this concept, it's actually so wonderful. And when we actually grasp these concepts, we really understand that what is there other than the supreme truth everywhere. Ito Narsingo, Parto Narsingo, Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsingo, Bahi Narsingo, Hrude Narsingo, Narsingam Adim Sharanam Prapadye. I surrender. That is my true nature. I was surrendering to Maya, now I surrender to your internal energy and serve you directly in a positive way, because that is where my real auspiciousness lives. So in a covered summary, in a covered over state, our Sanatan Dharma is manifest as service indirect to the Lord by serving Maya. And that is not really fully our auspicious condition. And that's why the Lord is helping us awaken our eternal nature. Now, Yudhishthir Maharaj knows this liberated souls like Prahlad, very, very small percentage. So two types of uti. One is the uti, the drive of pure devotion, the pure ego, the pure self, the purified soul. But the majority living entities, their uti isn't quite there. Even for sadhakas, generally it's a mix. So that's why he's asking the question not just about Sanatan Dharma, but also about Varnashram Dharma, because Varnashram Dharma allows a living entity who is still conditioned within the modes, who has not achieved fully his transcendental nature, to live a life based on their conditioned qualities, to live a life which is aligned with the principles of Sanatan Dharma, so that eventually the soul can be fully awakened to its Sanatan Dharma and give up the temporary Varnashram Dharma or become independent of it. Of course, generally we don't literally give up the Varnashram Dharma. Only at the Avadhuta platform that may be done. But technically, when a soul is liberated, he is free from Varnashram Dharma. So he's saying, tell me both. Tell me about Sanatan Dharma. Narad Muni, you are so exalted. You know everything. Huh? I want to know how to attain this ultimate goal of life, devotional service. This Prahlad's example is so illustrious. Also explain to me for the lesser, not so advanced people who still know that they want to reach the levels of Prahlad, but wherever they are, they want to steadily progress. Some may be doctors, engineers, dentists, professionals, chartered accountants, students, homemakers, businessmen, army people, politicians. How they can organize their life even in the conditioned state in such a way that they can live in this world in a harmonized way with Sanatan Dharma so that their realization of Sanatan Dharma gradually progresses with that practice. Explain to me that Varnashram. So, in simple words, Varna, Ashrama, Dharma. Varna means social orders, and Ashrama means spiritual orders. 4 Varnas, right? Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and 4 ashramas: Brahmachari, Grahastha, Anaprastha, Sannyas. Oh, greatest of Brahmins, oh Narad Muni, you are directly the son of Brahma. Brahma is the one who set up this Varnashram system as per the eternal system created by the Lord. The system is created by the Lord, but he set it up. And you are not just one of the sons of Brahma, you are the super excellent son of Brahma. Your austerity is your devotion. You are considered the best. So I am not just asking this question to any teacher. I am asking this to the professor of the professors. Can know better than you the deeper truths of Dharma. You are the empowered incarnation of the Lord. You are going all over the universe, illuminating living entities. No one knows better than you about these truths. So आज आप मिले हो यहाँ पे नसीब से तो आपको let me extract out. So that is the eagerness. When a devotee meets elevated soul, a sadhaka meets elevated souls, he's not particularly keen to take, selfies and, uh, tell that person about their own greatness. I am so wonderful. Do you know me? They are interested to, what is the realization? What is the experience of these great souls? Thoda I can, because you see, this is what is most valuable. Sometimes, even in material life, we realize, right? Sometimes the right experience and insight from those who are very experienced in a field can save us from a lot of trouble and can also help us achieve very difficult things very easily because they give the right tip. They have the experience. They know out of the 101 ways, which is that one way which works the best. You understand? Right? So that kind of insight we want from them. That's why we want to associate and get that insight from those who are more senior to us. Because they will tell us that one thing that, my God, I was going to go this path, and while I may have gotten a little bit far from that, but I never thought of this, that, all these dimensions. I was not even aware they existed, but this devotee, this guru, this sannyasi, this counselor has given me that insight that, wow. So what to speak of a personality like Narad Muni? Huh? So no one better. Please, please. How to become the best of the Brahmanas? You can tell me. The deepest principles of religion. No one knows them better than you. Please. Don't go without explaining this. You explained about the greatness of Prahlad's character. Now tell me how to become like Prahlad. At any stage, those who are advanced and those who are still in conditioned life, दोनों के लिए बताओ. Let your class not exclude anybody. Narad Muni is very, very humble, and this is the quality of great souls. They don't say, yes, I have figured it out. Hear from me. I will now tell you. First thing Narad Muni says, let me offer my respectful obeisances to this. He is the protector of religious principles. All religious principles are coming from him. Dharmam to sakshat bhagvat pranitam. The Lord has created the living entities. And that is why the nature of the living entities has been created by the Lord, the Sanatan Dharma. And that is why the final reference point with respect to Dharma is the Lord himself. Dharmam to sakshat bhagvat pranita. The principles of Dharma, in our Sanatan Dharma, we are very clear. Nobody can give other than the Lord. Others can come to explain the principles as given by the Lord on behalf of the Lord in the capacity of Guru. But the principles, eternal principles of religion. Narad Muni says, before giving the answer, he says, I have heard the principles of religion directly from the mouth of Lord Narayan. So I will explain to you what I heard directly from Lord Narayan. So even though he is so exalted and glorified, he is not saying, मैं बताता हूँ यार. Saying, no, I will tell you what I heard from the supreme reference. See, that is why it is so important. No matter how much we become learned, we always quote Shastra, we always quote the Lord and the realized souls. They are our reference point. So he says, I heard these eternal principles of Dharma in a conversation with Lord Narayan when he appeared in the dual incarnation of Nara Narayan in Badrikashram. A similar conversation had happened between me and these two incarnations, right? Nara and Narayan, the four-armed form. They are still in Badrikashram. Some of us went to Badrikashram together. We went there, Vyasa Gufa. We went there to Alaknanda. We went there to and took darshan of Lord Badri, Vishal. It is said there are two mountains there, Nara and Narayan. They are still meditating there, Nara and Narayan Rishis, in the form of two mountains there. It is said they continue to perform austerities there. So anyway, that's a very beautiful pastime. We don't have time to discuss that today. So when Narayan and Nara are two rishis. Narayan Rishi is an incarnation of Lord Hari himself, and Nara Rishi is an incarnation of Arjuna. So Nar Narayan are equivalent to Krishna and Arjuna. Okay? So he's talking about Lord Narayan. So this Narayan from the Nar Narayan pair was born as the son of Dharma and Murti. This Murti is the daughter of Daksha Prajapati. So this we already discussed many classes earlier, Daksha's daughters and who all they married. So one of the daughters of Daksha, whose name was Murti, she married a great personality known as Dharma, and they gave birth to this great incarnation of the Lord known as Narayan. So again, just a quick reminder. Sometimes we'll criticize Daksha, stupid fellow. I didn't understand. Please remember who are these personalities. This personality's grandson is the Supreme Lord. His son-in-law is Lord Shiva. He may have made a mistake. He learned from his mistake. But this is just a very humble warning. It's not, sometimes we get into the mode of judging, criticizing some of these pastimes are for us to learn from. Whether it is Indra, it is this personality or any other. Many of these personalities, they have overcome all their mistakes, they have achieved perfection. So let us seek their blessings. A very, very great person. So even though Prabhupada in his purport will write in a very strong way, it is not so much to criticize that personality, it is to drive the right lesson. Because Prabhupada is pointing to that attitude, that kind of mentality in us. So when we read this, we should be looking for that kind of anartha in our heart, rather than finding faults with these great personalities. I hope the point is clear. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, you look at the descendants of Daksha and who all is connected to. My God, you will feel like not even an ant. And then Narad Muni continues. He says that the Supreme Lord, I'm going to now explain what he taught, and he's the ultimate reference point. So now I will explain to you what are the principles of Sanatan Dharma. So now again, this whole chapter is divided into two parts. The Sanatan Dharma, next 4-5 verses, verses 8 to 12. And then he goes into Varnashram Dharma. Sanatan Dharma section is very small. Only verses 8 to 12. Varnashram Dharma for the trapped souls is 4.8 chapters. Because Sanatana Dharma is one and same for everyone, no? Variety, nothing, very simple. This. Applies to everybody. Simple, finished. And much of this has been already discussed across the Bhagavatam. Varnashram Dharma is so much variation based on Varna, Ashram. That combo is there, no? 4x4 matrix. 4 dharmas, 4 ashramas. What are the duties across that 4x4 matrix? So there is a detailed explanation, and that is important for conditioned souls to understand. And what is the reason it is important? Because when we understand how the framework of reality is set up and the divine system of Varna and Ashram which is given by the Lord, then we know how to find our place within our conditioned life. Because the reality is we are conditioned. We cannot suddenly jump up. We cannot, just wear a jersey of number 10 and wear pads and take a bat looking like Sachin Tendulkar's bat and go and expect to perform like Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli or whoever. I don't know whether his jersey was number 10. I don't know. Let's see. So, first we have to do some net practice. First we have to learn how to wear the pads. So hundreds of things to do. So in our conditioned stage, we need to know how to align our life in our conditioned nature in such a way that it is aligned with the universal system. Because the whole reason this Varnashram system is created, the bottom line of that whole system is, very simple point is, how in the conditioned stage we can be engaged based on our nature in a way that we are not opposed to principles of eternal religion. We are aligned with the principles in such a way that we are slowly undoing our conditioning and gradually progressing towards revelation of our real nature. You understand? Correct? Just like another very simple example. Just like you go to a hospital. There are so many wards with so many kinds of diseases. There may be a cancer ward, there may be an HIV ward, there may be a TB ward, and so many other wards, where different categories of patients are kept. And for each categories of patients, for them to recover fully and become healthy, there are certain do's and certain don'ts based on their specific disease. Now, a cancer patient cannot just go and walk and say, I like the schedule of the TB ward. I think that's quite good. So, doctor, can I just swap? Same rate, no? This bed also you're charging same, and there also same. Let me swap. No. That treatment is for him. This treatment is for you. When you become fully well, doesn't matter from which ward you come, fully well, all equal. Now you're not all equal. Now you have different conditioning, different disease, different treatment. And your treatment, do's and don'ts, are all oriented in such a way that ultimately you will reach that common point where you are healthy without any infection. Okay, I'm just giving a gross example so you get that sense. That's why a lot of discussion on Varnashram is necessary, because one has to understand. And this is a very broad topic and so much discussion can be done. Of course, Kali Yuga, unfortunately, Varnashram Dharma is in a mess. So we are not going to be discussing that topic today. We have more than 4.5 chapters to discuss, because that topic continues to be discussed. So this chapter, the rest of this chapter is a quick overview. Then there is detailed discussion in another chapter on the 4 ashramas, detailed discussion on the 4 varnas, and a few other topics which are discussed. So we'll gradually go through it and you'll get a deeper appreciation of what I just mentioned. So have patience. We are only going to cover in the next 15 minutes the 4 verses. Actually, not even 15. I'm only going to cover 8 to 12 verse. So, sorry, one more point I forgot to mention. So, Sanatan Dharma, Varnashram Dharma, some points I mentioned. Another point is Sanatan Dharma is the pure nature, it is the pure drive. But in the conditioned stage, where so that is bhakti without the mixture of karma and jnana, nirguna bhakti, okay, in the Sanatan Dharma stage. But in Varnashram Dharma, there can be bhakti, but that is mixed bhakti. Bhakti mixed with the modes. And that is why when bhakti is mixed with the modes, of course, initially bhakti is mixed with the modes, gradually the modes are purified and one graduates into nirguna bhakti. But when bhakti is mixed with the modes, the usual method of extracting from the modes, the bottom line, the conditioned state, because anyone who's influenced by the modes is driven by a uti, which is not exclusively pleasing the Lord. Generally, there is self-interest of various categories. And sometimes that interest is 99%, interest in the Lord is 1%. So it is said that for those who are conditioned souls, the the general consciousness, even for those who are trying for spiritual elevation, is of the type of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Which means in the conditioned stage where one is attached for material results based on their modes, one is encouraged that you do your duty, but do your duty without attachment. Correct? Karmanyevadhikaraste mafaleshu kadacha. This is a common principle across the 4x4 matrix. So again, in case this is confusing, let me explain this once more. This is a very subtle point again. Sanatan Dharma means one has no material drive. One is working exclusively for Krishna's pleasure. In the conditioned stage, when one is influenced by the modes, one may be anywhere within that 4x4 matrix. One is still conditioned to various degrees. Some may be very little conditioned, some may be absolutely tied up by the modes. But no matter what, there is a material drive. And because there is a material drive, and that drive will impel us to act, the way to purify that drive is to still act as per that drive, but in a dharmic way, trying to renounce the fruits of that activity to the Lord, so that gradually one is purified and transcends those modes and comes to the point of pure devotion. Got it? Okay, that's about. If you understand this, you have understood yoga. You have understood what is Nishkam Karma Yoga, and you have understood what is Bhakti Yoga. And Varnashram system is designed. The rules of Varnashram Dharma are designed keeping this Nishkam Karma Yoga in mind, because one is conditioned. Of course, one should still adopt the principles of Sanatan Dharma of devotional service along with one varnashram duties, so that one makes proper and rapid progress. So that one makes proper and rapid progress. And that's why Prabhupada was very, very emphatic. Prabhupada said that he wants his society to not only practice the sadhana of pure devotional service, but also wants to properly institute varnashram dharma so that people are trained how to act according to their nature in a way that they are progressing both materially and spiritually. That they are emotionally satisfied, they are physically satisfied, they are mentally satisfied, intellectually satisfied. That is good health. Good health is not just taking care of the soul and not taking care of the body. That Prahlad can do. But when we are in a conditioned stage, we have to take care of all aspects of ourselves. Otherwise, our life goes into imbalance. And Varnashram system is designed for that kind of guidance. It has that framework to give everyone, allow everyone to find their space so that in their own lives, they can nicely evolve. The way that they are ultimately progressive towards pure. Okay? Sorry, I think it's a little longer than what I intended to. But never mind. If you understood, then all of this is fruitful. If you didn't understand, listen to the recording once more, or you can ask me later. See, the real way to understand is really to pray to Krishna. Help me understand. Because unless Krishna allows us to understand as the Paramatma, by seeing our sincerity to understand, these things cannot become understood. That is my own humble realization. That is what I've heard from great souls. So anyway, this is also another important thing. Our realization should be aligned with what other great souls are saying. If we have a realization which is totally off from what all the scriptures and acharyas say, then perhaps we have not understood something properly. Because there is almost nothing unsaid on the topic. So when we get a realization, sometimes as we progress, we'll get certain insights and realization, and then we will start finding, because we have synced with that insight, we'll start finding that insight mentioned by other acharyas and other senior devotees, and say, yeah, now I understand. I probably heard this earlier, but I couldn't relate to it. Now I can understand and appreciate what is being spoken about. Okay, so there are 4 verses, or other 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, sorry, 5. Yeah. So these 4 verses, I'll quickly recite the verse first, because most of the Sanskrit words, so there are around 30 odd items which are mentioned here. Okay. And is one word almost practically 30 items mentioned here. I don't intend to get into a very detailed discussion on this, but very quickly we'll go through it, because many of these terms you are not totally unfamiliar with. Many of you have been attending my classes for a long time. We'll briefly spend some time on some points. Each of these is a characteristic of a person of a person who wants to be aligned with his Sanatan Dharma. Satyam, Daya, Tapa, Shaucham. Correct? Satyam, Daya, Tapa, Shaucham. I think we have discussed this many times. These 4 are the pillars of Dharma. Correct? Truthfulness, mercy, austerity, cleanliness. Correct? Satyam, Daya, Tapa, Shaucham. Starts with that. 4 pillars. So it doesn't matter whether you're Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Jew. Sanatan Dharma is Sanatan Dharma. It is eternal. And that's what Prabhupada says. This applies to everybody. This applies to everybody. And in fact, the other way around, Prabhupada says that your religious system can be considered bona fide if it tallies with these principles. If your religious system is talking about killing others and harming others and calling that as religion, then it cannot be bona fide. Is your religious system, doesn't matter your method of worship, doesn't matter how you do your rituals, what you wear, all those things. Is it aligned with satya, truthfulness? Is it aligned with mercy, daya? Is it tapaha, austerity? Austerity, in simple words, we've discussed many times, is about doing what is, even if it is inconvenient, doing the right thing, doing whatever is necessary to progress, undergoing inconveniences in the advancement of truth. Shaucham, cleanliness. Of course, cleanliness is a big term, internal, external. Prabhupada translate here in very simple words, saying at least absolute minimum of cleanliness, at least take bath twice a day. That is entry point. Don't take that, that is done means I am clean. Nothing remains to be clean. No? That is entry point. Even an elephant bathes more than twice a day. Doesn't mean he's, the epitome of Shaucham. But for sadhakas, Prabhupada was very emphatic. Actually, he would say 3 times a day, but at least twice. Titiksha. Titiksha means tolerance. Very important. So many circumstances which come in life. I was listening to Radha Maharaj Bhagavatam class. I forwarded the link. 1.5 hour. Very beautiful class today. Maharaj spoke about a lot of deep spiritual insights. Wow. You didn't hear, you can hear the link was shared in the chat. And that's what we relish, from these advanced souls, their realizations are so deep and so mature. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time there, but Titiksha is knowing that I will need to tolerate whatever comes my way in life. Don't expect that you are a devotee, so nothing will happen. Now everything will be smooth. And they lived happily ever after. That's how the film ends. They don't show what happens after the hero and heroine come together. They say, and they lived happily. No, that was the beginning of the trouble. The point is, misery never ends. No matter how great one is. No matter how great one is. Even if you become Lord Brahma, troubles will come. Brahma, after being Brahma, he was chastised by the Supreme Lord. Just discuss. क्या भाई ऐसा वरदान दे दिया उसे मत देना सबके सामने in front of everybody he got chastised. Brahma got chastised in front of all devatas, everyone, and is written in the books. What is this? What did you do? Why you did like this? So troubles never end. So tolerance means to endure whatever will come our way and continue to remain progressive on the path of dharma. Shama Dhamma. Shama Dhamma means control the mind, control the senses. Ahimsa, non-violence. Again, I'm not going to elaborate because each of these is so much elaboration. Brahmacharya, celibacy. Tyaga, renunciation. Give away. Swadhyaya, study. Self-study. Studying of scriptures. Swadhyaya. Arjavam, worship. Santosha, satisfied. Very important. Being satisfied with what is come our way. Satisfaction is the root of happiness. Krishna mentions this, right? Samadrik. Samadrik means equal vision. Samadrik Seva. Sorry. Samadrik Seva. Not just Samadrik. Samadrik Seva means excuse me. Samadrik Seva means treating everyone equally. Or as Prabhupada translates it, he says, sorry, my bad. Samadrik Seva, serving those who have Samadrishti, means serving the saintly souls. Saintly souls are those who have Samadrik. Then the next is giving up I'm going to go faster. I'll skip the Sanskrit. I'll just stick to the English. The next one is gradually giving up unnecessary engagement. Like what we spoke, right? When we are progressive in our spiritual life, we're following the proper system, both of Sanatan Dharma and of Varnashram Dharma, parallelly, properly. Gradually, unnecessary engagements will go away. And that we see in our own lives, right? As sadhakas. If you see that unnecessary things are gradually going away, that is wonderful. Next is observing the futility of unnecessary activities of human society. Now, this is also related to the previous one, because as one becomes purified, one starts realizing, that such a useless engagement or endeavor. Remaining silent and grave and avoiding unnecessary talk. Very important. Next, considering whether one is body or soul. Considering whether one is body or soul, which is defined as Atma Vimarshanam. Atma Vimarshanam means reflecting on one's real nature. So a contemplative mind, basically it means a mind which is contemplative on the real nature of the self. That kind of a disposition is good. Rather than being a very externally oriented, it's good to be oriented internally. Annadhyayehe samvibhago, distribute food equally. Basically means that, take care of everybody around you, not just humans, even animals in and around your house. Bhutebhyascha yatharhatah. Bhutebhyascha yatharhatah. So understand that every living entity, there is the spark of the divine in the form of the soul and the Paramatma both situated. So treat everyone as a part and parcel. Then, अन्नाद्येभ्यो संविभागो भूतेभ्यश्च यथार्हतः तेषु आत्मदेवता बुद्धि सुतराम नृषु पांडव. Yeah, so we discussed that. Now the next verse is very interesting. Having described all these preliminary qualities of dharma, now he emphasizes 9 qualities. Shravanam kirtanam chasya smaranam mahatam gatehe sevejya avanatir dasyan sakhyam atma samarpa. What does this sound like? This is almost the same thing which Prahlad told his father. What is the king of education? Shravanam kirtanam Vishnu smaranam pada sevanam marchanam mandanam dasyam sakhyam atmani vedanam. Exactly same, slightly different words. They mean the same. So he's saying that the most important part of Sanatan Dharma is this 9. So the first 4 are the foundations of religious life. The others are various principles of those who are aligned with the truth. This is how their behavior and attitude and disposition towards the world and their activities are. But most important are these 9 limbs of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting, remembering, so on. O King Yudhishthir, Narad Muni is saying, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Lord. Simply by developing these 30 qualities, one can satisfy. So while we may be talking so many things about spiritual practices, doing this, doing that, living in a particular way, wearing clothes in a particular way, putting tilak in a particular way, doing certain kinds of services, all that is all good and wonderful. But ultimately, all these things have to tie to one of these 30 principles somewhere. Is it aligned and nourishing one or more of these principles and not contradicting any of them? Then we are progressive on the path of perfection. Sometimes people get so much caught up in the details that one forgets the essence. This is the essence. These 5 verses are the essence of Sanatan Dharma. And he says, Narad Muni says, these 30 must, this is not optional, this is common. And this is common for all varnas, all ashram. If you are a human being, must work towards these. Okay. So I'm going to stop here. It's a Sunday, sorry, I already. I'm opening up the floor. If somebody wants to drop, they can drop off. But if there are any quick questions or comments, of course, we can continue the discussion in the next class as well. Because this topic is not going to end, but we can discuss for a few minutes. When has anything to ask? Wonderful. Okay, everyone is clear.
Prabhuji, Tarun here. One point
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have actually. Hare Krishna. Sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
good, good.
Prabhuji, actually, I know this is a balanced dharma that we are talking about, that everyone should have those qualities and they should follow it. Coming to the new generation, Prabhuji, I'm talking about the kids. They are very much coming into the stress, coming into the tension, going away from a balanced way. Means we are also one of them, but they are very quickly coming up. I am hearing within family or nearest family that they are coming in depression too quickly at the age of 7 and 8. Means when they're in grade 7 or 7, 8. So I don't know, means how we can start helping our kids so that they will not at least face those things too early.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that.
Yes, actually, all these are symptoms of living entities, human beings, straying more and more away from the principles of Sanatan Dharma that we just discussed.
Yes, yes, yes. That's why I
And
asked this
because we are
question to
not instilling this understanding in them, uh,
you.
they are feeling unnecessary and undue pressure of becoming something that they are not, and that being assumed as the parameter of measuring their success of life. Correct? Like there is this
Yes, yes,
famous saying,
yes.
right? And that is why Varnashram also, both Sanatan Dharma and Varnashram as a system is so important to understand for every individual to know what is my place in society and how they can be happy in that place. If you don't have this understanding, as they say, if you always try to measure the success of a fish by his ability to climb a tree, the fish will always fail. Correct? Right? You understand, right? I mean, some great
I
person
agree,
said
Prabhu.
this. Yeah, you cannot measure. I think was it Einstein or someone said, if you measure the success of a fish based on his ability to climb a tree, you can measure a monkey's success by his ability to climb a tree, or a
Not
fish
fish.
to be in water. If you start mixing things, because today the world is such that certain uh, positions by media have been made so attractive. Yeah? Like my son was asking me, "Oh, Papa, is it very important that I have to become an entrepreneur and I have to do a startup and create a unicorn, then I am successful, right?" There's so much pressure nowadays. If somebody says, "I'm
True.
just doing a job," "Oh, you're doing a job, startup, don't have any bright, innovative idea." That kind of a pressure is coming up. I'm not talking about seventh, eighth standard. I don't know what their challenges are. But when you create imaginary success criteria and assume that that applies to all living entities, you mess up yourself and you remain frustrated and unsatisfied all your life. And amongst that, what we discussed today are the principles of 14, Santosha, satisfaction; 16, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements; Nrinam Viparyayaksha, observing the futility of unnecessary acts of humanity. I'm just giving principle wise. But when we understand Varnashram, we understand what is my nature, what kind of activities I am suited for. so that one focuses on those activities which is aligned with one's nature, so that one is happy doing them and not frustrated like a fish trying to climb a tree. That is why this education is important. So I told my children, all I'm expecting from you is, I want you to do whatever you enjoy doing to earn enough money that you feel emotionally, intellectually, and financially satisfied and stable, and focus on your sadhana in your spiritual life to do well. If you are happy, I am happy for you. I don't have any other expectation. And honestly, I don't. I mean, if you create unnecessary expectations, you just make the lives of your children miserable. Actually, the reality is, if we have enough to maintain, very simple truth, each of us come from a different socio-economic background. But of course, I think in this group, probably our socio-economic background is not very diverse. It's probably more or less middle class, upper middle class range, right? I don't think anyone here is very poor or fabulously rich. Generally, for people, if they can maintain their standard of living that they grew up in and have meaningful relationships professionally, in family, and spiritually, and be spiritually progressive, they are already wonderfully set and will have a very happy life. Creating unnecessary imaginary goals, chasing all life and trying to be and being frustrated, these are all pursuits of uh, mirages.
Prabhuji, here the things basically come that kids, we are not telling kids, they are seeing around and they are getting attracted towards that.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's why we have to reverse the situation. So we have to bring spiritual education into mainstream. So that's slowly happening, Prabhu. These things are slowly changing. So let's do our part.
Sure.
Correct? What it means is, that's why I always say my greatest desire with respect to this is, I am speaking to 30 families. I want each of those families to speak to another 30 families. So in one way, we spread and create awareness, knowledge, education, and eventually, of course, our larger aim is to institutionalize this education into mainstream education. And I believe at least the current ruling dispensation intends to do that, in India at least. It will slowly happen. It will happen. It will take 10 years, 20 years, I don't know how long. Probably our children will not be able to take the benefit of that. But it will happen. But at least our children are fortunate to be. See, I have seen, unfortunately, I have seen devotee parents putting undue material goal pressures on their own children. If that is happening, that means that the devotee hasn't himself understood or realized what we have been discussing for 20, 30, 40 years. Honestly, without any disrespect. That means we have not understood what actually gives happiness to an individual. It doesn't mean just because a person is a billionaire, one is happy, one is very famous, one is happy. No. Billionaires have committed suicides. Most beautiful people have committed suicides. And even the simple person who has little bit money also, if he has the right relationships, right environment, is enjoying what he's doing, he will have an above average life. This is the truth. He may not be famous, he may not, nobody may come and clap, but internally he will have santosh. This is a very important truth. And our Vedic culture was always guided by this. That's why there was never too much this on, yes, how many views I have, how many people are clapping, how many. If you keep yourself under continuous pressure like that and always measure yourself and your success and happiness in life based on public acclaim, then you are setting up yourself for absolute miserable life. So we have to train at least those who we have our direct dependents and our sphere of influence. Okay, is that fair?
Yes, bro. Thank you very much. Because in the morning we were discussing because of some reasons, and that's why I thought I think I should ask this question to the right person.
Right person. The answer is coming from the right persons, which is Prabhupada and the Acharyas. I'm just sharing.
Yeah.
So
For us, you are the
Prabhupada's,
right person, bro.
that's the seva opportunity you are giving me. I'm happy to serve you in that way. But this is all, yeah, there's nothing original here from me, other than some realizations which tally with the realizations of the great souls. Other than that, we are all just sharing what we have learned. Wonderful. So we'll continue our class on Tuesday, CC. The next weekend, just to let you know, very likely we may not have, but we will see if we can do the class on a Friday or something instead. Otherwise, we'll skip the Saturday class. Tuesday we will have the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, so we'll continue from verse 12, sorry, 13 onwards. So we are entering the section on the four Varnas. That is the first part of the discussion, a quick summary of the four Varnas. Then there's a small section on the duties of a chaste wife. And then there is a concluding section in this chapter on the duties of mixed Varnas and what is the result of occupational duty. So it's very interesting. So Prabhupada's endeavor was always how to apply these eternal principles. Actually, even Varnashram is eternal in the sense that it's not the eternal nature of the self, but the system of Varnashram is an eternal system. Every creation, the same principle applies to the conditioned soul. So it is an eternal principle. So simply following Varnashram is also a form of devotional service. It's a bit indirect. It's a slower process of evolution. That's why following a Varnashram must be complemented by direct devotional service of the 9 limbs of devotional service. Now Vida Bhakti. Otherwise, one's progress is very slow. Otherwise, at best, one will remain. At best, one will remain in Nishkam Karma Yoga. Usually, one will simply remain in going to heaven, coming back, going to heaven, coming back. But at most Nishkam. But we are aiming beyond that. We are aiming for our eternal positions in pure love. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Yeah, I saw some comments. Veenaji, thank you. Religion which allows killing is not good. Yeah. So that's our reference point. What are the principles, values? So like they say, important thing is what are the values that we are talking about? Not just rituals, but what are the values? That's why we do not appreciate. So we consider those as very lower or primitive forms of religious systems, which are not actually quite aligned with this. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur would say that the more closer any form of religion or religious system is closely as mapping and aligned with Sanatan Dharma, that much it is genuine. Again, not that we are trying to be condescending on others, because we are value driven. We are not ritual driven, correct? In our so many practices, so many various ways of worship, we are not, as long as people are following the system. Prabhupada was also quite open. Prabhupada, when he would preach to Christians, Prabhupada would say, yeah, okay, you are Christian, you chant name of Christ, no problem, but don't kill. You must follow the principle of Daya. He would remind Christians, like, he would always nail them on this point, the Christians. You don't have to worship Krishna. You want to follow Christ, you follow Christ. He's also, but these principles are important. Satya, Daya. Right? All these 4 principles of religion, Daya, you must follow. Why you are killing the cow and eating? Don't do like that. So like that, Prabhupada was very emphatic on that. Yes. Okay. Sachiprana Mataji, Anand Sundari Mataji, yes, thank you so much for your kind words. Okay, so thank you again. I will see you on Tuesday. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Gnatara Srimad Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all of
Thank
you for
you,
joining.
Prabhu.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu. Hare
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Pooja ji, thank you. Sudhir Sundar Prabhu, thank you. Archana ji, Sini ji, Zita ji, Sachiprana Mataji, Anand Sundari Mataji,
Thank you,
Veena,
Lanta.
Santanam
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hari Hari Sridevi ji, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.